Welcome back to Season 4 of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We're here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go. Kevin shares his powerful story of struggling with alcohol addiction and experiencing multiple rock bottoms. Kevin details his journey through treatments, a car accident, and personal battles, ultimately finding sobriety and purpose through unwavering support and self-discovery. Join us as Kevin recounts how he rebuilds his life, relationships, and embraces the joys of family. And this is Kevin's story on the Sober Motivation Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Today we've got Kevin with us. Kevin, how are you?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thank you for being willing to jump on here on the podcast and share your story with all of us.
Absolutely. If it gives somebody hope, that's my main goal.
Yeah. So what was it like for you growing up?
Growing up was actually, it was a decent childhood. I grew up in a hockey family, Minnesota. We were a tight-knit family, and things were always, we weren't rich, we weren't wealthy. We were just an average family down the road, just a normal next-door neighbor. Growing up as a kid, drinking was a big thing. It was just like at every event. It was every family event. It was the neighbors will have a drink while they're mowing the grass. It's just a normal thing. It's a normalcy around here. And my life changed a little bit when I was at a young age, at around 8 to 9 years old. My mom ended up getting cancer. We woke up one morning, school morning, and I was like, should be up a little bit way before this. And it's probably like 9 o'clock and I'm waking up late. It's school day. And just to walk in on my mom having a grand mal seizure. So me and my brother were home, and I yelled at my brothers. He called the cops, and we saved my mom at the time, but she wasn't really given much of a time. It was just basically borrowed time. She only was given three months to live. After that, she had a tumor in her brain, and she lasted longer than what they said. She was a fighter. She lasted maybe a year and a half. So we were able to do Disney and try to do as much as we could, spend much time as we could with her. And at that age, I really didn't know exactly what was going on. My mom was there. I just knew she was sick. That's all I knew. I didn't understand death at the time. My brother took it harder. He took his grief and he ended up going right into using drugs at a young age, smoking weed, what kids can get their hands on at that age. And he just went down that path at a very young age with addiction and drinking and drugs and the whole 9 yards. I was more or less just get myself into sports, do as much as I can to stay focused. I was more of a sports kid. So after my mom passed away with a hard time, my brother was into his full-blown addiction and running around the streets. My dad was in and out of the bars, getting arrested for a DUI when I was a young age. That was a lot to take in for a kid, but I still didn't understand what was going on. I thought that was just a normal thing. Mm-hmm. My brother, at a young age, he was in and out of jail. I was in hockey, and I was in the hockey ranks, getting rides from friends and family just to go to my sports. And my dad was either at the bar or he'd be at the games. He made it there as much as he could. And I understand now today of what was going on in his head. And he was just trying to know himself because he lost his love of his life. And I lost my mom, but I didn't understand it until I honestly still today, I struggle with believing that she passed away when I was at a young age. And I know she did. And I always blamed God for it. And today I understand I can't blame God for it. He just needed my mom to be there, to be as another angel to help. My drinking really didn't pop off until I was in high school. I just seen the troubles that were caused with my dad and with my brother. And I would just always say, I'm not going to drink. That's not my thing. I'm going to stay in sports. You can have those dreams when you're a kid, but when you get older, you start realizing that hockey's that's not going to be my life. I'm not good enough to be that person in the pros. I started drinking a little bit at parties and I was around 18, 17. My 21st birthday is basically where I started that's when I started drinking. That's when I started going. That's when I found out drinking is just the way I can get through work, get rid of my anxiety, and focus on myself and ease myself after I get done with work. It was just a thing I thought that was a way to calm myself. I strived myself at a young age, just be driven. I started working in automotive at 16. I basically would go to school and then I go right to work. And I was able to buy a house at 25 and I was a manager by 25 of a shop. So with that younger age, and like I see the generations now coming in at a younger age, and I say to myself, it's like, how would I do that? Why would I do that to myself? Because I was mostly just work and no play. And I just wanted things in life that I didn't have when I was a kid. And so I was basically going from house to house. I didn't have a foundation. I didn't have a home. And I struggled with abandonment issues because my dad would either be in jail or my brother would be in prison. So I wanted my own home. And I got married at 25, had all these things, but I still was missing something. I wasn't happy. And that's where my drinking picked up. And I'd go to work, come home, drink. It was more of a weekend type deal. I ended up getting a head injury from falling into a curb out in front of my house, letting my dog in. So I got basically leave from work for almost 3 months because I had a hard time speaking. It was my 5th concussion, numerous ones from hockey. So the only way I was coping was drinking all day. And what I know now is like my drinking all day was, and my side effects I was getting, it wasn't from my headaches. It was just my drinking all day. So when I go onto these checkups to get cleared off for work, I would fail them because either I couldn't stand on one foot, or I couldn't see clearly still, or I was still having the headaches, migraines, and the whole 9 yards. But what I realized now, I think most of it was because of my drinking all day. And I just remember one time when me and Steph went for a walk to get me out of the house. And I would say I see things out in the yard. That's just, my life isn't normal anymore. I'm seeing things. I see shadows, and it's just the weirdest freaking deal. And I don't think they were in my head. It was mostly the drinking I was doing.
Just going back there for a second to when you first started drinking, what was that experience like? Some people have different sort of experiences they share when they first got started, but you had a lot of stuff happen when you were younger. Was this some sort of relief for you in any way of everything that went on or was going on?
It just made me feel more comfortable in my own skin. Everyone always says they had that warm feeling going down their throats and the warm fuzzy feeling in their body. I never really had those feelings. It was just more or less, it made me feel comfortable in my own skin. I always battled the self-esteem issues. I always had a social anxiety. It was just me growing up in the hockey rink. It was never me going to parties and talking to people. It was just putting a mask on, and it was just me. That's the only way I could feel free when I was a kid. In school, it's just I hung out with the people, but I never felt comfortable of hanging out and talking to people and meeting new people. This, like you and me are doing today, back then I wouldn't be able to do it. It was, I got to have some drinks in me and then I can do it.
Yeah.
The feeling I had, there really wasn't a feeling. I was more comfortable in my own skin when I was able to drink. I got rid of that anxiety. It just felt more free. And so I thought.
Yeah. No, and a lot of people, it's like that expression too, like alcohol gave me wings until it took them away. It kind of reminds me of maybe that in a sense, to be more comfortable. And it's so tough, I think, looking back, right, to where we're at now. And maybe you can relate with this, but I was a lot of the same way, a different turn of events in my life. But I always wondered how it was so easy for other people to connect and make friends and just be happy. And I felt, I don't really know. I never really talked with them about if they were really forcing it, but I felt like I had to force it and put so much effort and energy into making friends, keeping friends around, like just being this clown of some sort and just this constant distraction of who I really was. And this was like even before I started into drugs and alcohol, of trying to find out like that $1 million question, where do I belong in this world? What's my purpose for things? So right out of high school, you already got into sort of the automotive thing. You said when you were 16. So that was your passion to really get things going. Your brother's older than you. I'm only assuming that, but he's an older brother.
Yeah, he's 4 years older. Yeah. He's driving himself. He just got himself out of Hazelden, I think 4 or 5 months ago. And he's putting in the work. He's doing the thing, and he's
good, man.
Not doing it the way I did it. I was just basically all in, do what I can do. But he still struggles with a little bit of the social anxiety, and he's doing it his own way. And I get it. We all got to do it our own way. It's our own path. But he's making it work for himself, and I'm proud of him. He's kicking ass, if I could say that, but he's doing it. He's in the work. He's doing the thing, and I'm proud of him for it. Good, man. That's great. That's really great. And so you get out of high school, you get married too, you said at 25. How was in the early days of
drinking for you? Are there any red flags that you're noticing or anybody is noticing around you? Or is it just it's like what everybody else is doing? What are your thoughts there?
It was, to me, it was like it was more or less everywhere we would go. It was out to dinner. It would be a drink, multiple drinks. It would be Saturday, Sunday. Let's go to the bar up the road. Let's have our Bloody Marys. I'll have my beers. I have to reflect on it with this conversation here. I remember they used to start off with just one. We'll have something to eat. And then later on in the years, it was, let me try to get this third one down and then we'll go, or let's try to get the fourth one down and then I'll go. And every time now, I think about it, it's like, yeah, there was red flags, 100%. We would only go there for this one there, here and there, maybe a soda, just little by little. But then the more I think about it, it's like it progressively got worse over the years. And we'd go on a Sunday and I can't go. It's just, I want to have one more. And I'd already be 5 deep. But then before I went, I'd already have a couple before I went there. So yeah, there was red flags and I didn't want to see them. She seen them. I didn't want to see them. It was not my problem. It was your problem. It was their problem. It was the bartender that cut me off's problem. It was never my problem. And that's just the blindness of our addiction, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And the hindsight's 2020, right? We can see it now clear as day, but when you're going through it, it's the truth. You can't see it, or we're not willing to accept it, or we're just lacking that ability to be honest with ourselves, to be like, hey, this is how it's going. It's so easily to rationalize and justify the next one, or it's everything around us. I'm with you on that 100%. I was blaming so many things around me for where I ended up. And it wasn't until I changed that perspective that things could have the chance to change. How are things going for you? Because you're moving up the ranks in your career, your job, getting married, all things that kind of check those boxes in life, right? Buying a house. And when you're doing all that stuff, I think too, when we're wrapped up in it, it's really hard to be like, what's the problem? I'm checking this box. I got this going for me. Like, how bad could it be?
Yeah. I'm doing the thing. I got my job. I'm a manager of a shop. Like, I got it all. I'm still not happy though. Here's kind of like, everyone says they have a rock bottom, right? But I don't know what a rock bottom is. In all honesty, I'm going to go through this part of my life where there's been numerous rock bottoms that normal people will say is a rock bottom.
Yeah.
At about between 25 to 29, my drink had picked up. It was just on the weekends, maybe once every now and then at night. It was to an excess. Yes. Till then, to me, then it wasn't to an excess. It was to me to get numbed out and go to bed. So around 29, stress levels were already, they're through the roof. I had a hard time bearing myself, dealing with my own emotions. I think my early childhood was catching up with me at that time. I was missing the family life figure, this all anxiety of this life in general. What have I actually done with my life at 29? And why am I still not happy with myself, or even when I look in the mirror? Between me and my wife at the time, we're fighting every day. We were struggling with me finding myself, but not finding the love in the relationship. I just had a hard time loving myself. And this also goes out to the wives, the spouses, the boyfriends, whatever anyone has out there. That person that's in your life, they're the ultimate warrior. They went through a lot of crap we went through, and they had to handle it and deal with it in their own way without anyone even understanding what's actually happening in that relationship. Because nobody knows the answer of, oh, you got the alcoholic husband and all he does is drink. Oh, blah, blah. Nobody understands that. And nobody's understanding what to say to that person at that time. He was just a complete warrior in the whole relationship. And so basically at 29, I was dealing with anxiety, the work stress, the lies were just becoming bigger and bigger, and it was taking a toll on my life. And my drinking was nightly in the garage, hiding out there and not dealing with going to bed at a decent time. I'd be out there at 3 a.m, go to work at 7. And then I'm sure I was still drunk when I got to work. So I went to my first treatment. It was not something I wanted to do, something I was basically told. We all told we should go to treatment, and we do it to please them. And I went there. It was pre-COVID. It was basically when I got out, we were wiping the door handles and they were saying there was a sickness coming. Okay. I get out, and then the next day the country's on lockdown. I'm doing an IOP, and that's intensive outpatient. And I'm doing it to still please people, but it's also, I do it because I want my relationship to work. And I still want to figure out what this whole thing's about. Do I actually do have a problem? I did take things out of that treatment and I take them today and I still use them, but I just didn't understand the whole situation. So I would do my OP, but I was still drinking. I would shut my camera off and I would go in the garage. She was still working, so she didn't even know I was doing this. And I would just go in the garage, pound a couple of drinks, come back to my IOP, go right back on the Zoom camera and act like everything was just fine. And I was doing that for a while, but it caught on. It catches on to us. They catch on. They're not stupid. They'll see it at some point. I stopped doing that and I just started going off the garage and hiding. And that was like my thing. And that's where things really got south. And I lost my job due to the COVID. And I'm sure it was mostly because I wasn't performing my performance either.
Yeah.
The relationship wasn't getting any better. It was getting worse. She wasn't happy with me. We were actually just having our first kid and we had a miscarriage before that. And a lot of my drinking before I went to treatment I was blaming myself. Was it because of my drinking that caused the miscarriage? And Hudson's a miracle baby and we ended up still having a baby. And so it's huge when you think of it. It's big. There's a bigger picture, but in the time of our addictions, like we don't understand it. We just understand we just want to blame everything. And I was still blaming God at the time.
Yeah.
In this last 5 years, Hudson's the little bundle of joy of what I thought was never going to happen. That's been my biggest motivator because I don't want to see him without a dad in the long run. I make sacrifices today to be there down the road. So if I got to miss something, unfortunately, that meeting is more important because I need to be there down the road too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just interesting too, right? Because there's two things I'm thinking about here. One is that thing we go through, right? Of everybody else's problem. There's no problem with alcohol. It's everybody else's problem. And that lack of accountability too. I'm wondering like how you started to chip away at that block to realize, okay, maybe it isn't everybody else. Isn't part of the, you sharing too, like your wife's not too impressed with how things are going and everything. How are you feeling about where you're at in life, especially when you go through, are you doing the IOP, you're drinking in the garage? Like, I think we can fool ourselves pretty good.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a level of, we know what we're doing is not really in line with who we are or who we want to be in our ways on us. What are your thoughts about those?
At the time, it's like, I felt like I got it all figured out. I felt like I can get by with lying about the situation. If I'm not really an alcoholic, if I'm able to get by and still do these things, I can get by with showing her that it's not a problem. There was times where I would go to a meeting, take a picture of a 30-day coin and just send it to her and be like, hey, I got my 30-day chip. I hope you're proud of me. And I hope this looks good, whatever, whatever goes in our head at the time. And I would just leave there and go to a liquor store and start drinking. I was ashamed of myself, but I was also proud of myself. I found out a way to get through, lying and hiding the situation. I thought I was clever.
Yeah.
But in all hindsight, it catches up to you.
Yeah.
You end up finding ways that you're going to slip up and your life just becomes more of a downhill slope. You start struggling more. If you would have seen how I would look, I was bloated and I looked like a red apple. Blood pressure was through the roof. I couldn't stop shaking. It got bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, I went to my second treatment after I lost the job, worked everything for. I was burning up the bank account. And this is where probably my life really changed, is going into that treatment and the way I came out of it. I struggled even more with myself, didn't understand myself at all. I figured it was my life and my self-esteem and my self-image issues. Was it all like deep rooted somewhere where I don't even know? I didn't understand. There were so many questions when I came out of there. And when I came out of there, me and Steph were in a very bad situation. And I just remember the car ride home from this treatment and my son was in the back seat and he was months old. He was less than a year, I believe. And I remember seeing him and I seen joy in him. But I also felt myself looking at myself saying, what are you doing with your life, Kevin? You can't figure it out, and you're still not happy with yourself. And you got that little boy in front of you that's smiling away, looking at you, but you just don't feel like that person that should be his dad. You're not a healthy person. All these self-doubts would go through my head, and I was just in a dark spot. And I think that's where the moment was where I needed to love myself to love others. And that's where I understood. So I can't go through life with saying I love you when I don't even love myself. There's that feeling in you, like you think that's love, but you don't know. Basically, when I got home, we had papers on the counter, and she was taking my house. She was done. And it was probably like a couple weeks later after I got back, because when I came back, I basically immediately went into a hotel, went on a weekend bender, calling that treatment just to go back to have them say that they're not taking me back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I'm like, okay, if they're not going to take me back, then why even bother continuing to try to do this recovery sobriety thing if no one's even happy with me? So that's just me buying the lie. I'm doing it to myself. All these people aren't doing it to me. It's just, I'm doing it to myself, and I'm proving to myself, to them, that it's like, I'm just truly an alcoholic and I can't see it.
Yeah. What were your conversations like in treatment? Yeah. You had a caseworker or something? Like, would they say, where do you think you're at and stuff? Like, and when was this? What year?
This was probably in 21.
Okay.
2021. So basically just out of the end of COVID, we were still wearing our mask.
Yeah.
But the whole problem, like in the situation, was like this treatment, we had a caseworker and I was bonding, and I was able to communicate and express myself, just to have them pull the counselor out of there and just do a whole staff change. And then I had to start all over with another counselor, and I couldn't get invested because I was worried about insurance dropping. And every day I'd go into a group, not sure if I was going to be there tomorrow. And I just couldn't express myself the way I wanted to, the first counselor, because I just felt like I was just being just another person. I just felt like it was just a game, and I couldn't get invested with it. And there was times where the counselor would be like, maybe you two should just get a divorce. And I were here to work on things, not to make things even harder in my life. And yeah, I just left that place just confused. I didn't know what I even wanted. I just had no self-worth at that left there. I didn't know what life was anymore. That's where the problem was. Like, I couldn't love myself because I didn't know what was real anymore after leaving that place. It was this bad experience, put a bad taste in my mouth. And it just confused me even more, I should say.
Yeah. It's interesting too, with what you're sharing about struggling to love yourself, accept yourself, and find that place within. You feel like that, and you've probably done some work on this sense where the journey goes, but do you feel like that's coming from childhood experiences too, about what was around you and how life was, and not in a sense to blame anybody else, but maybe just how things were going in your life?
Yeah. My life back then was just basically, it was more of an isolated type life. And that's where I got my comfort. And that's where today's life, that's where the problem's kind of rooted down to. I'm more of a self-isolation type guy. I was hang out in my room, go to hockey, come back, hang out in my room. Nobody was home. I'd make my own meals at a young age. Yeah. My dad would play video games every now and then, but I was mostly just me and myself, and me just taking care of myself and hiding in my room.
Yeah.
So what happened was, like, in my adult years, is the only way I could cope was unhealthy. It was me alone hiding in a garage, because that's what I was normalized in my life. And when I was a kid, I was hiding in my garage. I dealt through my emotions by myself in my room. Adult years, I hung out in the garage and would just drink myself to oblivion and then go to bed numb. So that's the only way I was able to cope at an older age, because I was taking those childhood isolation habits and focusing in my adult years. Yeah, it's kind of hard to break out of those bad habits, but you can definitely get out of those habits. if we do it the proper
Yeah.
way. That's what I do today, obviously.
Yeah. So you leave this treatment center and then you get a hotel, and how do things, it sounds like this is a slippery slope here, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is
Hey.
where it should be the first rock bottom. I get kicked out of this hotel, and this cop basically picks me up and says, you can't stay here anymore. It's either detox or I got to take you somewhere else. I'm like, I'm not going to detox. But then in the middle of this conversation, while he's picking me up and I got to leave my beer, I'm asking him, like, why am I being kicked out in the first place? And the guy is like, well, in all honesty, you got a missing person report out. You're hiding in this hotel. But the problem is, it's not that situation. You're alive and you're okay. You're drinking, but you're talking to me right now. Problem is what's going on downstairs and the people that are seeing what you're doing. And I'm like, that's their problem, not mine. But they're seeing you come upstairs with 2 to 3 cases a day in your room, and it's just you. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's a problem to a lot of people. Okay. So they brought me to a different hotel and I continued my bender. But then I came to the realization, is like, I can't keep doing this. So I went back home, went back to work. And by then, this job that I just got and I have today, I was already too far gone to even be grateful for this job. It's at a dealership. It's respected. It's something like I grew up, I always wanted to be at a dealership, but I'm already too far gone in my addiction. So I'm starting to burn bridges there, have issues there, but I'm also being dealt paperwork to sign my house over. And we basically agreed to separate it. Focus on yourself and heal yourself, and we'll see what happens. So I went to my own apartment, and what are we all doing? We're all alone. I got my own place. I can drink all day. Nobody's going to bother me. I can isolate and do the things I want. Gotta be okay. I'll focus on myself and I'll heal myself and I'll be all right. That's the lie I wanted to keep telling myself, but it was just a slippery slope. I would stop talking to people. I would go to work. I would start missing work. And then I got in a bad car accident. So this should be rock bottom number 2. I'm in the hospital. I basically, back to the car accident, is like, I shouldn't have survived this car accident. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. All we have is theory right now from what the police report said is I was going up, there's a highway here, 61, and I was going north, and I basically just kept going straight, and I basically hit an embankment, and I flew off, and I went down this hill and basically landed upside down. You couldn't see my car, and what they think is I was hung upside down. I was hung, when I came to the next day, I was latching my seatbelt super tight, upside down, and I kept coming to. I remember this vividly because I remember like waking up and I felt dirt in my mouth out or whatever, and I'm like, I fall back asleep. But it was basically, I thought at the time was just me dreaming of glass and dirt in my mouth. It was just a bad dream until I actually came to and realized I was upside down in my Jeep. So what they think happened is this happened at night, and I came to around 5:36 in the morning, hanging from my seatbelt in this ditch. And it's on a highway. People could see it, but I was just so far down there, like you would have never even guessed there's a car down that hill. So it was surrounded with trees and brush. So I remember my cell phone ringing, and I was able to reach it, and it was Steph letting out my dog at the time, and I was able to call her back, and she's not happy with me. She's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I need your help. I'm not too far from the house, and I got in a car accident. And our conversation was back and forth. I'm like, you just need to listen to me now and just get here now so I can get in the car. So I was able to get my seatbelt unlatched, go across to the car, able to look at it and say, what happened? I heard her car coming, and I was able to get myself up this hill and get in the car. And it was her, my son in the back seat, and me, bloody from head to toe. And I couldn't feel the rest of my body. So somehow my adrenaline got me up this hill to get in the car. I couldn't walk after that. I remember she brought me to the house after yelling at me, and I remember my son being in the back seat, and he was crying. And I said, why did I do this? What did I do? And I know it was from me drinking all day. I passed out behind the wheel, and I got behind the wheel, and I shouldn't have. And that's what scares me even more. It's like, I could have took somebody else out. I could have had my son in the car. And I I knew I would never drink with my son in my car, but if it did happen, that's what scared me. So I had all these emotions of, I can never do that ever again. I can't go through that life. If that it was a possibility of possibly killing somebody, if I would have killed somebody, where would my life went? I'm in her basement bedroom. She took me here because I said, I can't lose my job. I can't get a DUI if the cops get involved. So I ended up passing out in the bed, and next thing I know, I'm in the hospital. And I remember her and her dad carrying me to the car. I remember that coming to and back and forth, but I was just getting purple head to toe, and I couldn't walk, and I was getting swollen. So I got rushed to the trauma unit, and I'm there, and the cop shows up, and he says, you know, what happened? I gave him the honest. I still don't know. I don't know today. I don't know exactly what happened. I just remember what happened that morning. I know I was drinking, but I don't know how I got there that night. He gave me a conversation. He says, whatever it is you're going through, just make this a wake-up call. I could give you a DUI right now, but I'm not going to do that to you. I want you to take this and think about what happened and try to take it as a learning experience. And after that, I'm like, I appreciate everything you said. And that's the way I would have wanted it to be. I wish I would have took it at that point. But I said to myself, like, I'll never drink again, and I'm going to go back into treatment. Spent the week there. I was able to somewhat walk when I left. And by the time I got to my apartment, I was door dashing alcohol to my front of my patio. And there it just goes downhill faster. So I'm already at 2 rock bottoms. I should have been rock bottoms. Those are the moments where people think that those should be rock bottoms. You should stop after that. But I kept drinking. Only way I could cope with the stress I was dealing with, the pain I was in. My relationship was definitely not going to heal itself anymore. That's probably the end. But she still cared for what I was going through. She still was there to help me out with medications, be there for me if I needed it. So fast forward, I'm out of work for a good while now, and I progressed my drinking from a couple cases a day to 3 to 4 cases to 5 cases a day. And I couldn't get through a work week within a couple of days. I would go for 2 days and I'd be done. And my shakes would get so bad at work, I would start sweating profusely that there was a guy at work, and I was showing him something, and I was trying to put the dipstick back in, and he's like, Jesus Christ, Kevin, you're shaking like a leaf. And I just looked at him and I basically swore at him and said, it's my shoulder. Just leave me the F alone. But I knew the entire time it was my shakes from not drinking. I would never drink at work. And I always said, that's not my thing. I gotta be sober, and I'm there to do my job. And I understand now why people drink at work is because they got to worry about those shakes, and it's the only way they can get by without feeling sick. And I understand it. I always wondered why people did that. I understand it now because I was trying to get through it and I couldn't get through it. So I would find any way to leave work early just to go home and start drinking again. So I would get sick. So I got home, I started doing my thing, and every night was this downhill, every night downhill. So that was a problem. I'd start drinking some more, not talking to anybody, and life was just not an easy life. It was me doing it to myself. I hated myself. And the way to cope, and the way we cope is drinking. Or we go and do things we don't want to do because we think it's the way we should do it. I was able to kind of have a couple moments that kind of really brightened the way I needed to change things. And I remember it was June. Steph wanted to pick me up to get Hudson some gifts. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll go. I'll sober up. And I'm up at 3 a.m. I'm still drinking. I'm like, oh, I better go to bed. I got to bed, picked me up, and I quit drinking around, I woke up, had a couple of drinks. She picked up around 11, and I went ahead and I stopped drinking for like a good 25 minutes, 30 minutes before she picked me up. And I started having withdrawals already in the car. I'm on the verge of seizure and on the way to pick up gifts for my son. And I remember she stopped to go have lunch, and I'm not feeling great. I'm at Culver's, and I'm at a pop stand, and I'm trying to fill my cup, and I'm shaking, and I can't even hold it, and I'm spilling the cup all over the place, pop everywhere. And I remember this kid looking at me, and I remember it today, and burns me. And I don't stop thinking about it every time I get popping out at the pop machine. Because I'm shaking so bad. And this little kid's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And not a good feeling. But I remember that moment.
Yeah.
I also remember the moment where I couldn't help my kid cut up his chicken because I'm shaking too, let alone put my son in his high chair because I'm shaking so bad. So that's one moment that stuck with me, is my son not being able to do anything for him, not being able to hold him because I'm scared I'm going to drop him, and this little kid at a pop stand. So she invites me to Disney that year, and I go to Disney. I sober up a week before, and in that time frame between that June to March, I had way too many welfare checks, way too many run-ins with family members of saying, you need to shape the fuck up. Way too many talks with work because they're thinking about letting me go because I'm not showing up on time. And all this is all self-inflicted on my behaviors. But then I still blame them.
Yeah.
Not my fault. Still not my fault. It's all the pain you guys are causing me, that's making me drink. And I go to Disney and I feel what families, I felt happiness. I felt my son enjoy going on rides with me. I felt that there is love. And this is what I needed to do, is to be sober for 2 weeks before I got here and not feel those withdrawals, be clear-minded, and actually see what family's like. And family is, it's just all love and joy. It's seeing him grow up with a father figure, a relationship that he can see and love, of actually being happy. And those moments at that Disney trip actually made me realize that this is what family's. And I remember Steph asking me, it's like, she's, are you okay? Are you feeling good? And I'm sure if I was drinking at that time, I probably would be missing most of it because I'd be hiding out at that bar. And this time I was actually just sitting there enjoying my kid's time and actually seeing what his happiness is through his life. And it's all the small things we have in life that we see today that we take for granted. It's the sun outside. It's the warm weather. It's the laughter that's in the air. It's seeing everyone enjoy the small things and the smells. You don't see those when you're drinking. There's no smells besides the alcohol, and it's a dark room that's you and your own thoughts, your own pretty self. So I got home and I said I wasn't going to drink. But on that plane, something switched in my head that I was stressed. I went back to my apartment and I was supposed to be working on that Monday, and I left my house in Hugo here and I went north, and on the way there is four liquor stores. You know, that's a problem with alcoholism, right? We got liquor stores in every freaking corner. I was able to hit every single liquor store on the way home. And comes that Monday, 6 cases of beer gone, all within a day and a half. I got pictures of it today, and it's not a pretty sight. But I was able to take those 6 cases of beer, still drinking, and act like a normal freaking person. And that's, to me, that's not healthy. It's a lot of beer. People still ask how I did it. And so it's just all the months of leading up to this that I was able to tolerate it. My eyes were turning yellow. My body was falling apart. I was always in pain. And these were my rock bottom moments. This is where I understand it. Is I called that Monday morning when I woke up and I said, I'm done. I can't keep doing this to myself. Can't keep doing this to my son. I suffered from abandonment issues. I can't do this to him. So basically my rock bottom is, my moment is when I was ready on my own time. When I've already destroyed more things than anyone wanted to deal with, I made the call. People said I should go to treatment. Those were all like, I'll go. But this is the time I said I should go to treatment because I want to. And nobody really understands that, but it's a feeling in your head, like in your mind and body. It's like, nobody will understand it, but I understand it myself. And I called a place up in, not too far from us, it's Hazelden. They couldn't get me in, but this place in Malibu, California called me and said, hey, we can get you in today. We have a bed ready. And then they called you. So how did this even happen? And I was like, in all honesty, my insurance doesn't even cover a treatment that's 30 miles south, and there's no Malibu, Minnesota, so it's going to be California. And yeah, we got a bed here in California. It's come on out here. And that's where my God moment happened. Beautiful place, amazing people, amazing staff. It's unfortunately closed now, but they went out to Maryland and they got the new thing out there, Hygeia. These people are just amazing people. And they helped me out. They helped me see what recovery is like, understand myself, understand to have fun with recovery. And that was my biggest blessing, because I understand where to love myself and to love my son. And God moments can happen in weird ways, and that's one of them. I didn't pay a dime. I was able just to be scholarshiped. My insurance won't cover it. And a God moment should happen when I survived that car accident. I should have been like, okay, this is where I got to stop. But the moment of going to this treatment facility and be blessed with all these people that are still in my life today, I can still call Jordana and Justin and be like, hey, I need some help. What do you think about this situation? What should I do? How should I cope with this? They'll be honest with me, tell me straight up. I got a guy, the tech that was there, Vinny, he still sends me morning gratitudes, and we still talk every day. I met some amazing people. Jacob, he has his own deal and he's doing amazing today.
Yeah.
Charles helped me learn this book that I didn't understand when I was going through all those other multiple times. But I left there and I still didn't take what was suggested. I went back to my apartment, started drinking again. But then I would call them up and they would say, you just need to get yourself right into a sober house and follow suggestions. So that's what I did. I got rid of that mindset, because everything I was doing it was Kevin's way and not the right way. Got into a sober living, met these amazing people here in St. Paul. A guy in Lance and Jim, they all helped me, guide me down the path I need. Nick, we have a guy there too. He just understands the way of life, and he understands you to a whole different level. You learn all these things in strange ways, but it works for you and you make it work on your own path. Like I was talking about my brother earlier, it's like we have our own path and we have our own way to go with things. And I just had to go a very hard way for a short period of time to understand that this is the situation I need to be in, to understand these type of situations. It's all about being comfortable, or learning to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's what I had to do. And stripping my old ways and start living in a new lifestyle, and that's staying in a routine. And that's the best person I'm going to be today for my son is not the old Kevin. The old Kevin wouldn't be here today for him, unfortunately, and seeing him play hockey and seeing his life and enjoying the small things, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting too, to go back there into all of those, sort of sharing that journey of the rock bottoms and everything too. And it's like, the more and more I hear these stories and just connect with people and you'll be around sober people, it's like we always see in the movies, right? There's like that peak, right? Where the tough thing happens and then people change their lives like the next day or the next week. And like with this, it's so interesting because you hear so many times of all the rock bottoms, but it's not necessarily like the day after or the week after we make that change. And it's also the tough part. It's also the really difficult part about this whole journey, I think anyway. Some people can relate to it, some can't, is it's not possible to force somebody to get it. It's not possible to force somebody to see that there's a different way to live until they're ready to live that way. And oftentimes, it takes a lot of pain personally for our loved ones around us, for us to be willing to put in the work that's required to make a difference in our life. That's like the most difficult thing I think about all of this, especially for guys like you and guys like me who are working, helping people and being connected in the communities. And we meet a ton of good people that they've got so much stuff going for them, and they're get some time without drinking, and then maybe it's back to drinking again. And it's such a difficult thing to watch. But we reflect on our own stories that like it required a certain level of discomfort and pain for us to be able to flip things and be willing to do things differently. And I love how you mentioned too, like just doing Kevin's thinking what got us here. I'm a huge believer in that. Like the best ideas I ever had, Kevin,
Yep.
ended me up in the worst places in life. And I had to get to that point in my own journey to realize my way of thinking got me here. I've got to get outside of that. I've got to be willing to put the ego aside and listen to some other people, whether I liked it or not. I had to do my best to follow through with some other ways of people who came before me. What do things look like for you now?
As of today, I'm back in my house that I lost. My relationship is better than it's ever been. My son's in my life. And
With your wife?
yeah, yep. So it's better than it's ever been.
Oh, wow.
She's a complete warrior. She's done the things that I never thought that I needed in life, but she's always been there. And she's always been that rock where I just always just looked at it as a negative spot. It was all out of love, the love I wasn't seeing. But I got my job. I'm doing amazing there. I'm able to help people. We're spreading hope. I run that little page and I do little things here and there to give hope of what I'm going through that day and kind of show like, hey, this is the way I do it. And I find a little weird quirky saying out of it and make it work. But I started doing these posts as kind of, we have this alumni page and I would just make posts and send it to these guys. And it turned to more of an accountability thing with me posting this on my social media. And that's what I needed as well, as more accountability. And if I'm not posting something, I get somebody saying, hey, we really enjoy your posts. Is everything all right? And that's where it's, oh, okay. People are actually paying attention to it and they want to see it. So that's where the other blessing, I enjoy doing it. Sometimes I think I'm tiring people out and then they're probably sick of me of doing it, but no, I mean, they actually enjoy seeing it. So the accountability factor is what's big for me too, is that. I love that. And if it's helping them, that's the best thing. It keeps my light going. It keeps my fire going. And so I can't complain about life today because it's much better than it was 3.5 years ago. Things were pretty dark then.
Yeah, man, which is incredible. To stop drinking in 22, right? That was what it was for you, right? 22, right?
Yep.
Yeah, July 23rd, 2022. You said something there, man, that kind of stood out to me about you got your house back and building this relationship with Hudson and with your wife and your career and stuff. I think it's so interesting, man. You did get those things in your life, but I think that you worked for those things. It wasn't like, it's not like we just get sober and the magic happens. It's like we get sober and we get the opportunity to go to work on ourselves, and then these things start happening in our life that we resisted for so long. And I just think that's beautiful, man, especially if we go all the way back to the beginning. You hearing your story, I can't go away from how it was for you growing up and the struggles you went through and the story with your mom and your brother and your dad and stuff. And I see and I feel it's very important for you to do your very best to be present, to be a role model, and to lead the way of how to do this thing called life the best we know for your son.
Yep. And the number one thing about this situation is I got to stay continued with my sponsor, continue putting in work, and continue to express my emotions when I need to. Because like when I was a kid, it was this isolation and hiding, right? That's what we did. But my coping mechanism, the only way I'm going to speak about my emotions and what's going on in my life is just me and the bottle I'm drinking. So what my sponsor says today, and that's what I continue to run with, is I got to catch myself sooner so I don't stay there as long and I can talk it, spill it, and be done with it. And that's just the way I have to live my life now. It's something that's bothering me. Hey, I got to say something. I got to talk it real quick and then I got to be done with it. Because the resentments, that's our offender, right? And I used to blame God, and I used to blame all these people. And all hindsight is always me causing the problem. It was my own thoughts and getting my own way. And that's what our biggest issue, getting in our own way and our own thoughts. And that's why we're going to have these people. For accountability or sober foundation. And that's what I built. I got all these people to call if I need to speak with somebody. And that's the foundation. I built it on the ground zero, and I'm going to keep building it up. Get as many people as I can.
Yeah, love it, man. Love that. Quick, before we wrap things up here, if somebody out there is struggling to get or stay sober, what would you mention to them from your experience?
If they're struggling and they're having a hard time finding their light, is speak to somebody that has had time. Give it a shot. What's it going to hurt? You got to get uncomfortable. It's going to be hard situations, but it's going to be worth it. See what they think. If they truly think that there's an issue that you have going on and you hear them out, give it a try for a couple of weeks. I told my brother, like, give it a try for a month and see what happens. And he's still going with it. And it's not going to be an easy process. It's going to be hard. We're going to have storms, but it's how we get through them. That's how we weather them. It's going to make us grow. It's going to be growth. So it's recovery. It's not going to be fun all the time. It's going to be work.
Yeah.
It's going to be worth it.
True, man. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing your story with all of us, man.
I appreciate you having me on. It's about being uncomfortable, right? If there's something in the story that somebody can get something out of, that's what I hope for.
Yeah, man. Love it. Well, there it is. Another incredible episode here on the podcast. Thank you, Kevin, so much for jumping on and sharing your story with all of us. I'll drop Kevin's contact information down in the show notes below. Be sure to send him a note if you enjoyed the episode and let him know. We appreciate him coming on the podcast and sharing his story. Jump over to Apple and Spotify, leave a review for the show. It helps out a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.